How's it going, everyone? I want to welcome you to this show. This is the very first episode. I'm super excited. This is going to be kind of an episode involving almost any topic related to business or life. It's going to be a mixed topic. We're going to stick to a few things: business, real estate, life, and just general terms of guests I'll have on here. I'm going to have another chair over here that I bring in occasionally. We're going to talk about people's stories. And these aren't going to be individuals you've ever heard of, but just people you can relate to because they're much more down to earth and they're going to be on your level. Some of them eventually will have amazing guests, is the goal for this show. But I wanted to start this first episode out. First of all, thanking you for tuning in and watching this. It's going to be maybe about a 20-minute episode. And we're going to put these on YouTube, a couple of them out on my Instagram page, just a condensed version. But I'm super excited for this show, The Rams Den. Welcome to the Den, first of all. I want to, first of all, invite anyone that wants to come on the show. If you're watching this, shoot me a direct message or shoot me an email. If you're on YouTube, comment. Anyway, find my info, Zach Ramsden on Instagram. My number is 541-951-1781. Feel free to send me a text message saying, hey, I want to jump on your show. If you're in the Pacific Northwest, you can come right to my studio. Otherwise, we can do a Zoom call. Without further ado, though, I do want to get into the topic for today. The topic is, I'm going to tell you a bit about myself, introduce myself and tell you a bit of my story this far in my career and in life. So I'm going to rewind and jump right in. Rewind way back to 2014. That was when I graduated high school. I'm 25 years old. But what impacted me the most was 2013. There are two books I started reading, and I've always been involved in business. My family has, so it wasn't just a random idea to get involved in business and entrepreneurship. It was ingrained in me, we could say that. But the first two books, the first one, and I found this one on Facebook. Facebook ads was just becoming a thing, and that's Start Something That Matters by Blake Mycoskie. He's the founder of Tom's Shoes. I was such a fan. I started buying some Tom's shoes and wearing them to school. Now I'm from a small town in Wisconsin. No one's ever heard of those shoes, let alone when they saw them. They probably, if you've ever seen the first Tom's shoes, they're like slippers. People were wondering what I was wearing. They're like, what are you wearing, man? Like, I guess I enjoyed fashion and clothes, and part of me wanted to be a fashion designer. But this was a random book about entrepreneurship, reading about Blake Mycoskie's entrepreneurial life, and his story of going to, I forget which country he went to check out these shoes. Let's see here. You'll have to read it and find out. But he went there, saw that it was a native shoe to that area, somewhere in South America, I believe, and brought that shoe to the United States, not thinking it was ever going to be a big thing. He bought a couple pairs with him and listed them online on a site. I believe he already had Tom's shoes. He had came with the name. He only had a duffel bag full when he came back to America with a bunch of them. He stayed there and made them. And then he woke up to his phone just ringing off the hook, buzzing, orders. And he's looking. He's like, man, he's only got a duffel bag. So he went back down there to get some more made and get a little bit of a manufacturing system going. Anyway, really inspirational book for me. It boosts my creativity, mind, in business. Such a cool guy. He reminds me a little bit of the founder of MySpace in the fact that did really well in the entrepreneurial career and started many businesses and is successful even today, but is kind of off the radar a bit, enjoying outdoor living, traveling, much like the founder of MySpace, who is just, has this $500 million payout. He invested it and he's living a great life, but he's off the radar. So kind of a similar trend of my life, of where I'm trying to go, are those kinds of things. The second book, in fact, I would encourage you to go back and read that if you've never read that before. I'm sure many of you have, though. The second book, this one was super impactful and inspired me to make my first move out of Wisconsin, and that was Nothing to Lose and Everything to Gain by Ryan Blair. And that book I found online too. You know, everyone was on Facebook back in 2014, 2013. But this book was super inspirational to me. Ryan Blair's from California, Southern California, and I was amazed at the opportunity and what was out there at age 17. So this book impacted me to want to move to Orange County, California, and kind of get my own start in entrepreneurial careers. As you can see, the titles listed are named Nothing to Lose, Everything to Gain. So it showed me there's really nothing to lose. Getting out there at a young age, you're going to mess up. We all know there's a mentor, non-mentor education, or a mentor format. There's two routes to go, formal education or mentorship. Either one is great. But the mentorship was huge. And Ryan Blair, from gang member to entrepreneur, it kind of talks about how he put himself in a position on accident, or just how life took him, to have nothing to lose. And it's kind of how we all start, is with nothing to lose, but tons of upside. We're like the greatest investment we could ever have, is tons of upside, unlimited upside. But it's first investing in yourself. And so it showed me how to first start reading some books. I was just ingrained in it. So anyway, that inspired me to then move to Orange County, California, and that gets me into my personal story. Before I get into my personal story of first at age 17 moving to Orange County, California, I want to take a short break. And if those of you are listening, tune back in. Welcome back. I just took a short break. Had to jump away for a quick second. But I want to tell you my story, my personal story. And I just told you about these two amazing books here, these classics in my opinion for my life, just classics, my first mentors, book-wise. But at age 17, I just graduated high school, and I just had I'm from Wisconsin. I grew up in Wisconsin, and I had no really plans to live there, stay there. I just wanted to get out, wanted to see what's out there, much like many of us do. But I started my plans to move to Orange County, California. I was fortunate enough to have an uncle there, who I stayed with for 3 months, about 3 months, and then a little less than 3 months, and then from there I moved to that was in Dana Point, which is below Orange County. So then from there I moved up to Orange County with some roommates. And my first job was going to be in a rubber company. There was some connections that my uncle had that allowed me to start working there right when I moved there, which was really, really awesome. The job was a marketing assistant, and so kind of a made-up job, because it was really just the head of marketing, really was just his assistant. So they just made that title. And the very first day, I remember I was so new. I just out of high school, never worked a 40-hour work week in my life, never started work at 7:30 other than just showing up for school. And I clocked in, showed up at 7:30, and I think the first thing I was handed was like some papers to edit. So it was basically like a grammar. I was editing them grammar-wise, and I'm not an English major. I didn't see the opportunity, so I was really blown away. I was like, "What is this?" My office didn't have any windows. It was in the printer room. People were coming in and out, grabbing papers and printers. So I can see that they really made that position for me. It wasn't probably something they had sitting around that they were looking for someone to fill. So I'm very grateful for that opportunity. But at that time, I was like blown away. I was like, I cannot do this. I need to see outside a window. And even now, where my desk is, it's placed by a window because I just have to look outside and think, or be in some sort of association of running around and being outside. So it helps my brain. So I learned that early on. So after a week, I I quit. Now, short-sightedness, I should have stayed with that career and made some money at it and learned from it, but there we go. We're learning, right? We're young, we're 17, we're learning. I think I was 18, I just turned 18 at that point. It was in the summertime of 2014. So I quit. I was about to move back home, but then my brother Blake, he's a year and a half older than me, said, "Hey, I know you really want to stay out there. I know that about you. You wanted to move to Orange County. Now's your chance. You need to stick it out. Stick it out a little longer." So I went back home just to visit, just to kind of get my bearings again. Um, but I stayed out there, but I'm jobless. So I don't have a job. My fault. I quit the opportunity I was given. So I'm starting applying around to shoe stores, retail stores, restaurants, and I drive by a sandwich shop called Jimmy John's. Now, back in Wisconsin or in the Midwest, Jimmy John's was an amazing sandwich franchise that was very successful. They were delivering food faster than you can think before Uber Eats was around. Um, so I was like, oh, okay, I know what Jimmy John's is. I'm gonna apply there. Okay, thinking there's a ton of Jimmy John's out there, I applied and handed back my application. I believe they said, okay, cool. They looked at it and said, hey, why don't you come in next Tuesday? And that was right before I was going to go back home for a little bit. And I was like, yeah, okay, let's come in for an interview. Went in for an interview, and the managers, I mean, tons of energy already in the building. It's pretty cool. People run around. He lets me know, hey, this is the first franchise out in Orange County. This is the first one within the Southern California state. So it's a lot of opportunity here. Would you be interested in the management role if you work out and you like the job? Would you be interested in moving up into that role? Right in the first interview, which is something I think of today that many businesses do not do, is gamble on the person's potential and give them a path the day you meet them. The day you meet them, what's the problem with doing that? Say, hey, look, I just met you. You look promising. I love your energy. Obviously, you get a sense of who they are right away. I mean, who doesn't? You shouldn't be hiring people if you don't. And so I learned that, looking back now, that is so important. Right when you meet someone, to show the potential of what that relationship can benefit, the reciprocity there. Hey, here's where you could go. It's way up there. It's way ahead. We don't know when you're going to get to that position, but there you go. We can get there together. Are you interested? And I was like, yeah, sure. I had nothing to lose, everything to gain, right? And so came back from visiting my family in Wisconsin, came back to Orange County. And at that point, I missed my rent that month. It was like $400 for a room. But I talked to the landlord. I said, hey, can I pay this month later? Can we skip this month? He's like, okay. And we skipped it, and I got back on track. I got like my first check from Jimmy John's, started working my way up to being a manager. And many times I was working, I remember working, I started a night shift after learning the day shift and learning the basic stuff. My first management role was in a night shift, which was like 4 o'clock to 11 p.m., 4 to 11 p.m. And, I was 18, managing people way older than me who had been there longer than me. And for those of you watching, it doesn't matter how long someone else has been in a career, been in a position. It just matters the hunger level. It's completely different. So the hunger level is where everything comes into play. So they weren't hungry, but I was managing them because I was the hungrier person there, and I was willing to take that management risk and delve deeper into that role. And so I'm so thankful for jumping into this role at Jimmy John's because I learned process, putting someone in a process, learned how to hire and what to look for, learned how to communicate and be a leader to an entire team of people, learned how to manage people during chaos, learned more about myself than I ever would in any other job. From how I lead others, how I can teach others faster, how to connect things in their mind, and many things. So I'm working night shift. I worked that for a while. Then we switched to the harder management role. This is kind of a management role. This was opening up the store at 5 a.m. in the morning and doing all the prep work with the food. So now I got to get, I think, 3 successful opens is what we called them. And that means you're prepared with everything ready, all the fresh lettuce cut, all the fresh meat, all the tomatoes, everything cut, all the bread baked before 10 p.m. And so my first open was a little rocky. I think I was training in. But after that, I just started killing it. I got up at 4:30 a.m. and I worked my whole day, my whole shift in the morning, and it was ready to be open by 9. So I was killing it. So they moved me up into a management role. They take me and this other manager and put us in a new store. I'm just going to fast forward this real quick. And we just completely kill it at that store. We hire the right people. We hire people who have been athletes before or have done some sort of hand-eye coordination because they learn super fast. And that's nothing against anyone who doesn't do hasn't done sports of any sort, but that's a trend we noticed. So we just start killing it. But I was getting paid hourly. And here's where your value comes in. This is where I learned value. I saw the manager was paid salary, and I was paid hourly. So I was getting overtime, getting a lot more work done, specific hours. I was still working a good 60 hours a week. And he was working 80, but he was salary. And so I knew if I went into that role as a general manager that I would be paid salary and I'd be overworked. And if I was overworked, why am I still an employee? And this makes sense for me. And I'm not comparing this to anything else. It was what made sense in my mind. So if I was going to work that hard, why wouldn't I try to own that restaurant or try to own something or do it something where I'm getting directly benefited? So that didn't make sense in my mind to continue to move up the ladder to a general manager position, which is where my career kind of ended there, which is fine because I was okay being done with Jimmy John's and moving into my next career. But I ended up getting, I think, they saw that I didn't want to go up the ladder and they demoted me down to like a delivery driver. And I was like, all right, I'm done with this. And again, I made a mistake, right? I quit. I should have kept working there until I transitioned to do another job, which is another thing I learned at the young age. You gotta transition. You gotta be humble while you're not satisfied enough to look for something that's gonna satisfy you, but transition into that because you're gonna be much more successful in that new career with the transition point. So I didn't transition, but anyway, that's the long story short. I go into, there's a lot of other detail in Orange County. I go from career to career. I ended up staying there for about 3 years in Orange County, and then I was going back home to Wisconsin to work for my cousin's startup. It was an amazing opportunity right around that time that I quit Jimmy John's. So I tried the startup. That didn't work. And that startup is still, it's on its way now. It's becoming something, but it's a little different than what we had planned. So I tried the startup. That didn't work. So out of all things, I was looking for a career, and I'm kind of moving away from my entrepreneurial trend into completely career-based, which is now I was looking at barbering. So I started looking at schools for barbering, and I moved back to Orange County from Wisconsin because I moved there to help my cousin's startup. And I come back to Orange County, look for barbers shops to work at or barber schools, Didn't find anything, and so I finally moved to Northern California to live with my brother, who lived there at the time and still does. Um, and I worked there at a restaurant while I'm living with him for a bit while I'm waiting to start barbering school. And this is 2017. 2017. And I end up not going to school, barbering school in California, but I end up going to barbering school in Southern California in Medford in the fall of 2017. So I worked at a restaurant, serving tables and hosting up until going to barbering school. So fast forward to 2017, in about August, I start barbering school in Medford, Oregon, and I'm there for about 10 months. 10 months, going to school during the day, working at night, doing the gym in the evening. That was my schedule. I did that round the clock. 8 o'clock, got up. 9 o'clock, started school. 4 o'clock, ended school. Went to right to work because I had to still pay my bills. I had bills to pay, so I had to keep working. And so I went right to work at 4 p.m. into I worked at Jimmy John's again because it was an easy job to get, just this low hanging fruit. So I already had the experience. They had one up there, so I'm working there in the evening till 11, and then I'm hitting the gym from 11 because I got to walk to it after work, and then I'm getting home at like midnight. So that was a blur. That was a super amazing routine. I've never performed as much as I thought I did then. We're playing basketball in the evenings with some friends. Just constantly moving. I ended up quitting that job during that 10-month period and working for a friend that I met there, that was flipping houses and turning them into rentals. So that kind of got my attention on real estate. Not to mention, I forgot to mention this, during my time in Orange County, I was, after I quit Jimmy John's, before I went and worked for the startup, I was trying to get my California real estate license. So I had already had the urge and the juices to try to find how to get that done and do that. Not to mention my uncle was a realtor who I lived with when I first moved to Orange County. So we'll leave that there and fast forward up to barbering school in Medford. And that was, once I finished that, I moved to the next biggest city. Once I finished barbering school, I moved to Portland, and moved into a room, started renting a room from a friend up there that I had made. We had kind of knew each other from a while back. So I'm now a barber, and this is where I start working at a barber shop, and also trying to start a company called Hair Hustlers. And that was going to be an on-demand service. Come to your home, cut your hair at your location, any location, your office. There's already a couple businesses out there like that at the time, so I was modeling them after that. But I started working on an app, and so it was really crazy getting the app going, using my money towards the app while cutting hair. And I get the app all built while I'm still working at a barbershop, a Throne traditional barbershop I'm working at in Portland, and I'm cutting hair like nonstop. I mean, I don't think there's ever a time where I wasn't cutting hair. I'd cut hair at the shop, I'd cut hair out of the shop, I'd cut hair at people's houses. We'd go to hang out and someone would want a haircut, and I was always trying to pick up the cash, pick up some money, and that was just nonstop again. So here I'm nonstop cutting hair, and I finally get the app going. I think I had 2 successful customers use the app. I had about 10 subscribers. That was my payment method, was subscription. And then I get to a point where I'm like, man, I'm dumping so much money in this. This is kind of a tech business mixed with a service business. Like, this is going to take a ton of cash. And I got to the point where I'm like, I don't want to keep putting cash into this. I don't have cash to put in. First of all, I'm trying to live on that money. I don't know enough at this point about business and how to separate business from personal finances. And we'll get more on that in another episode. But I basically kill it. I'm just like, all right, I'm done. And I didn't know a lot about sales then. I guess I never educated myself on sales at that point. So didn't quite grow it, but I met a lot of people, and there's a specific connection I've made that benefited me in my real estate career. When I went to get my real estate license in Orange County, or not in Orange County, in Oregon. So I basically quit hair hustlers, keep cutting hair at the shop, and study for my Oregon real estate license. And I'm still cutting hair a few times at people's houses. And I cut hair at one person's house. His name was Buck Wise. And if many of you don't know him, he's the chief marketing officer for Cardone Capital. Just an amazing marketing mind, amazing person, amazing family, because I now work with his wife. But I'm cutting his hair, and upstairs, his wife was Allie Wise was studying for her Washington real estate license. She had already been in real estate for many years, commercial real estate, and then switched to residential. But I'm cutting Buck's hair, and I'm like, yeah, I'm studying for my Oregon real estate license. He's like, oh, really? And he yells upstairs, hey, Allie, and it kind of sparked a relationship like, hey, there's something here. Like, I needed a mentor, and mentorship is based on relationship. And relationship is really where mentorship begins, and where I was like, all right, I don't care what brokerage I'm with. I'm just going to go work at the brokerage Allie's with and not be so brokerage specific. So that's what spurred me into my real estate career today, and that's kind of my journey summarized from leaving high school to where I am now as a realtor and in the real estate industry. And now I'm really able to have a cash flow from my day job, real estate, that can help pay and invest my money into other businesses. So we're going to take a short break here, and then I'm going to get into where I'm at today, how many deals I've done, how many transactions, and about my other company I'm putting money into, and I'll show you a bit about that. So we'll take a short break, and we'll be back at it. Welcome back. So I was going to tell you about where I am today and where that all brought me. Moving out of high school from Wisconsin to Orange County, then from Orange County back to Wisconsin for 6 months, back to Orange County, then to Northern California, then to Medford, Southern Oregon, and then to Portland, Oregon, and then now I'm currently living in Vancouver, Washington, which is an amazing city. Tons of growth, and it's set to be growing. I mean, for the next easily the next 10 years with the way development's going, with schools, commercial property, the waterfront's growing. Besides that, so where am I at today? I'm loving my real estate career, first of all. So that entire story I just told, then summarized, got me to a career that I love. And did I need to go through all that to learn that I loved real estate? Actually, I would say yeah. It showed me that there's a few different careers, and the risk of other careers, the risk of trying to start out in a career and have no cash flow to help it, and trying to get investments for it. We could go on and on about that, but long story short, it helped me see the benefits of being in real estate career. I love it because of the networking and also the ability to learn about real estate. I love real estate, the zoning, getting on top of deals early, how to identify a deal, how to think like an investor when you have the cash prepared to go make your own purchases, helping other people buy, educating people. But let's talk about, I'm just going to be very transparent and let you know how many deals I've done last year and this year, and then obviously combined. So 2020, last year, was my first year in real estate. I started in March of 2020 after getting licensed, and I didn't make any deals until the fourth quarter last year. First deal I made, I think I made it like $2,700. It was a referral deal. Learned a lot on it. It was a VA loan. We got tricked up on the appraisal. Ended last year doing 3 deals. That all ended up to be about $14,000 roughly. They weren't all like 100% commissions. I had referral fees and stuff like that. And this year, I'm set to I've done 9 total transactions so far. I should end the year, and it's December right now. I should end the year about 10 or 11. So should do hopefully 2 more transactions. I have a listing that might get an offer. And anyway, but putting yourself in that position to learn faster than other people is a huge thing I've learned. And just doing the hard things first, just getting them done. And connecting with other people. I've made a great connection of another person my age, Alec Mack. We connected on the phone. We're in the same brokerage, EXP, and he called me up. We connected. He was trying to do some marketing for many people and do open houses, and we connected. He had an amazing background in Facebook ads. We're doing business together, and we hope to do business together in the future. So we've kind of came together as partners. I met another lead. This was actually a lead. Another person I met, Charles Johnson, was starting a clothing company, and he wanted to tour a house. And I thought that he was, and I'll do an episode with Charles. I'll bring him on the show so you can hear his side of the story. He wanted to tour $1 million home, and I thought this guy was made of money. I was like, this is great, because you want to anticipate and expect the client has the ability to buy all the time until they're not, because otherwise you're just doing yourself a disfavor. And some of you may argue you want to take a little bit of a risk in the beginning and maybe do a little work, qualify the lead. But many of you forget that even if the lead doesn't qualify to buy a home or to sell a home with you, doesn't mean they're qualified for you to network and work with them in another area of your life. So that is where there's just a double-edged sword in real estate of who you're meeting every day. And then if you do business with them on the outside of, on the other side of the coin, which is just in other things besides buying a home, eventually they will want to buy a home, or they will need someone to help them do a transaction in real estate, invest in real estate. All things come back to real estate most of the time. So that's why there's a constant circle in real estate and why I love it. But Charles and I are in a venture together, a clothing business, Expologist. This is just a shirt. This is one of the shirts here. This is some of our first clothing. We're doing a complete revamp of the business. And here's a sweatshirt. We learned a ton together in this business. Here's some sweatshirt. This is all handmade. There we go, right there. These are all handmade. All this clothing, shirts are all. We don't just take them and get them embroidered. We have them handmade. So anyway, we've got Charles was able to not lock down a manufacturer in Pakistan. They're all handmade. We get to choose the fabric, the GSM, and all that stuff, the thickness, and you name it. And we're developing those relationships right now. Charles is killing it. We made some mistakes. We're learning from other clothing industries. We're doing a complete revamp as we're going into 2022. Our website's getting revamped, product launch, our strategies. And I'm able to take a little bit of money, and I have been able to take a little bit of money from my real estate earnings, real estate sales earnings, and fund a little bit of this venture as well, planting 2 seeds. So that's just I got to keep my life interesting. Many of you may say, well, maybe you should just focus on real estate and one thing and kill it and make tons of money and then take all that winning. Number one, that is boring. Number two, my mind is able to function simultaneously on more than one thing. And number three, higher risk, you're learning more, your time management allows you to do that. So if any of you, many people have multiple ventures. They're at one of the brokerages I was with, and even my cousin, he's a broker at his own brokerage. They have tons of businesses. It's not the only thing they do. So a lot of realtors are doing other industries, but I know all of them love real estate, and they do real estate sales because it's what they love, and it's something you can speed up, slow down. It's a great career gas pedal. You can speed it up, slow it down, refer a deal out. Anyway, I will have each of those individuals on. Alec Mack, my business partner in real estate sales, and I will also have Charles Johnson on this show, my business partner in Expologist. So Expologist, just so you know, means to expand and become. And it's expand and become means expand who you are, expand your thinking, and just become who you want to be at that time, because that's going to always change. And the meaning of it might change, but right now that's the brand. That's what we're sticking to. We like it. It's on trend of where the generation's going right now, and in becoming entrepreneurs. There's a huge boom in people wanting to be entrepreneurs and freelancers and working for themselves and working from home. We're going to see that just spike. And so I hope you enjoyed this first show. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm going to dive in a lot more of my story. I have a book that's I'm in the middle of writing. I'll probably launch it soon here. It's not going to be finished, but kind of like an early on biography that many people can connect to. It'll just be an ebook for now, and you're welcome to read it, print it off, read it. But thanks for tuning in. If you want to join this show and be right over here and do a conversation together with me, shoot me a message. I'll put my information right here in the video. Otherwise, you can text Zach Ramsden 541-951-1781. And then you can also email me at zachramsden@gmail.com. It's a personal email, nothing crazy. But keep reading books, everyone. Inspire yourself. Keep networking. And please let me know if you want to jump on this show. I love to talk with new individuals. It doesn't matter what industry you work